Of Three-Man Weave's Best Bets show here on the Field of 68 Network. We are, as always, sponsored by our wonderful pals at BetRivers. We're actually going to have a little special for you from BetRivers coming up later in the show. We'll keep you posted on what that is. There's always a little bonuses come March, Kai. They want you wagering. It's a big month of basketball.
Boost. Gotta get them boosts.
That's right. We are here. We have started March. Kai, did you have any takeaways from the final day of February, though?
No, Jim, because February is my least favorite month of the calendar year. You know what my favorite month is? It's March.
Oh, great sign.
And I'm excited to be here. I didn't watch too much last night. Baylor got the job done. Happy about that. That's really all I got. Also, the Towson game, didn't even realize the continuation of the Towson-Delaware game was yesterday. It seemed like not even very well marketed. I mean, why would it be, I suppose? But Towson basically dominated it the last 19 minutes whenever the game was supposed to be played. Kind of a quirky little scheduling thing.
They had like a 15-point swing in the first 5 minutes of that game being resumed. They were down 9 and suddenly they were up 6. And it's like, okay, well, this is never close.
Yeah, I'm claiming Towson as my pet team. I think I've claimed a few too many, so I'm probably stepping on people's toes. I think they're going to win a game in the tournament if they get in. That's my hot take. I think they have a good giant killer formula. Kai. Yeah, Jim, my takeaway was Baylor looks great. That was kind of a great spot for Texas at home, and Baylor dominates mostly wire to wire. Second half, got an outburst from my guy, Adam Flagler. I like that Bears team, man. That's just a team I want to be a part of, invested in any sort of angle going forward down the stretch, whether it be Big 12.
Mute your phone.
Just so many news notifications. Hey, just these are highly important injury. No, they're actually not, because injuries don't matter. Anyway, Jim, no, Baylor's awesome. I think that was a takeaway, and we continue to sort of short/sell Texas, correct?
Yeah, the After Dark show last night on this here Field of 68 YouTube channel discussed the fact there's kind of like a culture win. Like Baylor has a culture, an established winning tradition, and Texas does not have that yet. They're kind of like thrown together. It's kind of a team of not misfits, but they just haven't really gotten it all figured out yet. My takeaway from my best bet, guys, San Diego State, incredible. They were awesome last night. I think they're a lock to make the field, Kai. Huge road win. Their metrics are terrific. We can discuss that on the Friday edition of Fielding the 68, but they feel like they're in pretty good shape after that one. Man, Meatball Matty Bradley was incredible last night.
Yes, he was.
He was a monster, unstoppable one-on-one. All right, let's get into tonight's slate, guys. We're starting with a big one in the Big Ten, kind of for the Big Ten title here. Wisconsin would have to clean up one more game at home against Nebraska on senior night this weekend. Purdue would also have to win one more to maintain a tie. Matt, we've got a little bit of a road flip-flop here. Wisconsin with the win at Purdue earlier in the season. Johnny Davis went for 37 and 15. Do you see the Badgers sweeping the Boilers and maybe like not totally clinching the outright title, but getting very close? What do you think?
On this one, I thought the price was a little bit expensive. We saw Purdue get bet up pretty high at Michigan State. That one backfired. Sparty finally played a good game. And there's been a little bit of money coming on Purdue in a similar short-ish road favorite spot, Kai. This time, obviously, at the Kohl Center. A brutal place to play. A house of horrors for many Big Ten squads, most notably my Indiana Hoosiers. I lean Wisconsin, Jim, just on a pure number perspective. But you're right. The road flip-flop, the revenge angle gives me a little bit of pause. Nothing strong here, I guess, all things considered. Mr. McKeon, thoughts?
Worth noting, Purdue's fallen to 13 in Ken Pom. That 24-point loss to Michigan dropped them big time. Number 1 offense, number 107 defense. That's going to be the narrative you're going to hear at an annoying amount by all college basketball analysts heading into the postseason. Can Purdue win with their defense? I tend to think they're going to be okay, and they will improve on that end. Wisconsin's fighting for a 3 seed Big Ten title. Purdue's fighting for a 2 seed here. There's a lot to play for on both ends. I actually lean towards Purdue here. I know Wisconsin won in Mackey. Zach Edey actually got his. He played fantastic, but Travion Williams is a non-factor. I think he plays better in this game. Both teams should find avenues to score. I don't think Wisconsin's going to be stopped by Purdue's defense, and I don't think Purdue's bigs are going to be stopped again, or at least Williams against Wisconsin tonight. I don't think they have an answer for Jaden Ivey either. So even though it is 3, Kohl Center is a really tough place to play. I think Boilers get the win here.
Yeah, I'm leaning Boilers as well. Kai, I looked at some stats that really opened my eyes for me here. Synergy, post-defense numbers. Can you guess what percentile Wisconsin is in?
Low?
First. They're in the first percentile.
That's low.
nearly the worst post defense in the entire country. I think part of it is because they don't like to double. They want to take away the 3-point line. They're kind of just like, all right, go for it one-on-one. But against Purdue, that is terrifying. You're letting Edey and Williams go one-on-one, then you could be in trouble. Purdue posts up at one of the highest rates in the country, I believe second behind Wyoming. So they should be able to get theirs inside. But Michigan State might have given the blueprint. They did not double. They took away the 3-point line. Purdue only took 9 threes that entire game. You take that away from a team that shoots 40%. I think that's probably the smart way to go. So it's going to be an interesting little chess match of, maybe guard lets the big guys get theirs in the block. And Purdue is maybe okay with that, but they've also got to stop Johnny Davis. Jaden Ivey got in foul trouble in West Lafayette trying to do that, and nobody else can guard him. Like, they don't have anybody else with the size strength to match up with him on the perimeter. So curious to see how that one works out. I'm leaning Purdue. Matt also leaned towards the over because the last 5 meetings between these two have gone over, but the total is 4.5, 5 points higher than the first
last
meeting.
144. Yeah.
That was 2 months ago. So maybe it's not as relevant. It's not like a quick rematch, but still worth noting, I think. All right, let's move next game out west. USC, big one in the Pac-12. Trojans are hosting Arizona. Kai, third road game in 6 days for Arizona. Coming off that mountain trip, they just got spanked by Colorado. Really disappointing effort for the Wildcats there. They faded late. Meanwhile, the Trojans have been pretty solid. They got the 2 wins on the Washington trip, so impressive stuff there. On the Oregon trip. They won at the buzzer against Oregon. Do you think Wildcats get back on track here as a road favorite? Or are you back in the home dog Trojans?
Yeah, really strange 16-point loss to Colorado there. Arizona seemed out of sorts, 16 turnovers, 45% inside the arc. They're out-rebounded by Colorado. Just a very uncharacteristic game for them. Jim, Andy Enfield's up to his usual empty calories type of season. They're 25-4. Looks great. I'm going to laugh out loud if he gets the Maryland job because I think he will fail there. They're 6-0 straight up. Last 6 map. They're 1-5 against the spread. They are not that good of a team. They're not a 25-4 team, frankly, by metrics. The scheduling has definitely helped. Look, Arizona won by 9 in the first game. USC was winning that game. They definitely played well, but we've talked about it before with USC getting swept by Stanford. They struggle against playing like-sized teams. And I think with that, coupled with coming off a big Oregon win, coupled with Arizona coming off the loss, I lean towards Arizona here on the road.
Yeah, hey, Matthew Arch declaring this as lock of the day. USC blows was his direct commentary. Kai, sort of like he agrees with you on that one. I like that you're taking my mantle of the Andy Enfield shade thrower, per se. Yeah, Jim, our boss, Mr. Jeff Goodman, talking at length about how he thinks Arizona is a little bit inflated in some of these metrics because of the way they rack up their efficiency margin. And I think that does kind of explain why the line is what it is, up to 4.5. I could argue, I think it should be closer to 3. But you mentioned the tough schedule spot for Arizona. USC also in sort of a gauntlet of their own. I just think both teams are in a tired, tough dog days of conference play part of the season. The problem is that USC is taking on more injuries, and I think it's catching up to them. And I think this is a great spot to back Arizona off the loss. You're right. Like, I mean, every team had what was the 7 top 10 teams lost, mountain trip weekend. I think you excuse that for the Wildcats. I would lean Arizona, although the price is not super kind. I think I'd like to get a little lower.
Yeah, Arizona was the biggest favorite of the bunch that lost this weekend of those top 10 teams. So maybe the most alarming, but I do think that double elevation thing is difficult. Now they're on the road again, and USC can match their size inside. Gave them a pretty solid game in Tucson, but I think Arizona, awful loss, coaching advantage. I'm leaning towards the Wildcats. Tough one for me to bet, though. Let's go back out east. We are zooming back and forth across the country here, fellas. Providence headed to Villanova, rematch from a surprising shootout earlier this season at the Dunk. Villanova got the win there. But now, Matt, Providence has clinched the 1 seed. They won their first ever Big East regular season title. I think they probably celebrated on Saturday. Did they celebrate too hard, or are they back ready to prove another point here against Nova? It also feels like Nova's going to be like, hey, we're still the best team. Did you forget about us?
Yeah, it definitely feels like hey, we want to make a statement type game for Nova. Spreads, what, -9, -10, depending on where you look right now. I think that's a pretty sharp line. Kai, what, you think it's a little too short? I went back and forth with this one personally.
It's got to be too high. I think
It's
everyone
too high?
has to think. It has to think. You have to think that. Yes.
Well, I guess if you're an analytics number guy, you've probably been thinking every spread that Providence has been lined on has been shaded the other direction. I'm inclined to take Nova first half. Maybe Jim cut that big spread right in half. That Nova comes out maybe feisty and locked in to start the first stanza. Then Providence does their voodoo magic second half that we've seen them do multiple times this season. So maybe a slight lean to Nova first half, which would probably be my 5.5, 6.
Yeah,
I think
Pat Taylor might have a decent point in the chat here that Al Durham could sit because he has been banged up, and this game
that hernia
doesn't really mean anything for Providence other than pride. And, Ed Cooley's a motivator. Like, I don't think they're going to come out snoozing through this one. I don't think they'll lose by 30 as much as Villanova wants to win by 30. But if Durham sits, that's kind of tipping the scales in the Villanova direction for me. I would probably lay 9.5 if he's not in there.
Yeah, I didn't click on the Twitter page, but Cooley was asked the question, will they rest guys tonight? I'm sure he said no, because that's what coaches would say. But if Villanova wins this game, you're going to have a lot of people and wins the next game after this. You're going to have a lot of angry people and a lot of debate spark up because Villanova will be 16-4. Providence will be 14-3 and technically win the league. And that's not going to sit right with a lot of people. I mean, playing 3 more games than the other team in your conference and you give it to them, but that's tough. But first game, Nova won at the dunk. Game was awesome, close to the way. Actually, Matt, I was impressed by Providence. I know I'm very aware of the analytics. They played really well that game. I do think they're a good team. I think they're well coached. The manner in which they win the majority of their games, though, is not sustainable. And that's kind of the point we make and the analytics make. You cannot keep winning by less than 5 points this many times in a row. It's not sustainable. So I do think this spread is super high. They have 2 losses this year by over 9 points. They have 3 losses all season. So I think it is kind of a Providence or nothing. I'm not sure Nova wins by double digits here, Jim.
Yeah, still leaning Nova. It's funny, Kai, you mentioned playing 3 less games, winning the Big East crown. Last year, Villanova played 5 less games than UConn. Went 11-4, and UConn went 14-6. And I know the Huskies were a little bitter about that, but the three that Providence is not playing are really difficult. UConn at home, at Seton Hall, at Creighton, like probably an underdog in all 3 of those games. And it's nice to not have to play those.
Hey, Mackenzie,
and Providence doesn't play this weekend. Like, they have an open spot in the schedule.
Yeah, it is strange. It's very strange.
Speaking of schedule spots, and Mackenzie bringing up the good point, Nova with the full week of rest, and Gillespie did practice. We talked about how him and Justin Moore have been banged up a little bit, but they should be fully healthy and ready to go. If you get an Al Durham rest or even like a hobbled Al Durham, I think Nova's a great bet. The more I talk myself into it.
We'll see. All right, let's go to the Midwest, still in the Eastern time zone, fellas, but a little bit west of Philadelphia. Michigan State at Michigan. Wolverines kind of back against the wall here. They're 15-12 overall. They've got 2 more tough games this week. This is kind of the one they really, really need, Matthias. They got spanked at Michigan State. Maybe that's a little bit alarming, but the Spartans are coming off a huge effort to beat Purdue. Curious if they're able to immediately get back up for a big rivalry game here and put out another A+ performance. What say you on this battle in the mitten?
Yeah, this feels like the Michigan-Purdue spot that we saw was a couple of weeks ago, where we saw just like an awesome Michigan game in a really, really, really good spot. I think this is it. Michigan State, they had the home run effort against who was it against? I'm blanking now. Against Purdue, right? So now they go on the road. I know it's not a huge travel going from Ann Arbor to East Lansing, but the Breslin Center will be rocking. I think it's a cheap price, Kai, to get Michigan in a desperate spot. I don't know if I love backing the teams on the bubble, desperate, going to play harder, and thus are good value bets, but you're going to get, there's no risk of a letdown or a dud for the Spartans, for the Wolverines, while I think that is in play for the Spartans. I would take Michigan here up to 3.
Yeah, Michigan's hanging around the bubble.
Up to 3, Matt? It's like 5.
Seeing 2. I'm looking at first half line. I was like, what am I looking at here? Yeah, I would take it up to 5. First half. All my first half bets are good. My second half bets stink. So just in general, when I give an opinion, just chop that right down the middle and take the old first half.
I like the idea that Matt's like, I would lay 3 here. It's like, well, you'd have
take half the number available.
Yeah, that'd be great. We'd all love that.
Michigan has lots to play for here. They're hanging around the bubble because they have strong quality metrics, strong resume metrics. Resume metrics are falling lately. They need this game. It's a Q1 win. If they get this win, you know what? Actually, might be Q2. Michigan State's net. And Sparty did pick up a Q1 win with that Purdue game. They should be feeling pretty good right now. Michigan State crushed them the first game. but Michigan shot 3 for 19 from deep. Sparty shot 9 for 18. I do think Michigan gets the flip here. I think they have the advantage of Dickinson inside, despite being a pretty solid rim protector. The line does feel maybe a touch high, but I'm leaning towards Michigan.
All right, Kai, let's go to chat mob. Let's see it's Matt.
It's Matt today. Yeah, he wanted it really bad.
I did really, really badly.
That makes me nervous because I haven't seen Matt frantically scribbling. So I don't know if he's got all the questions down, but we'll find out.
Trying to keep my composure. Worth noting, Pat Taylor, we talked about the Purdue game. That is his best bet today. He's 12-8 on the year for those keeping track. And hey, for all mobsters keeping track of their best bets, let's stick to the honor system. We don't have to audit you, but I believe we got some trustworthy folk in that forum. So Purdue -3 for Pat Taylor. Lonty, 2-3 on the year. Looking at 3 games specifically today, talked about Purdue. Also likes Arizona, but looking at Montana State, Kai, they are hosting Southern Utah. They'll be on the outline. Stay tuned. Scott H, his best bet's Michigan -5. Big East Sports Ticket, his best bet, Kai, Akron -3. Speaking of games not on the outline, they're headed to my Ball State Cardinals. Feels a little short, I'll be honest. I'm kind of in fade Akron mode, though. I'm just not a fan of this team. So I disagree with my guy, Big East Sports Ticket.
And man, I could not stay farther away from this game. I don't know. Both teams are very hard to peg. I feel like if I bet Ball State, Akron win by 15. I feel like if I bet Akron, Ball State gets the outright win. So I'm staying fully away.
I had a slightly into the under there. Akron's kind of an under team, but we'll see.
Jimmy Anderson, he's on Kansas -6. That's coming up in the outline in our second segment. Also on Illinois, Chicago. Flame on, Jimmy. A little bit of a odds maker mix up perhaps last night with the way the rotation order was sorted. People confused as to who's actually playing at home, and that is Wisconsin-Milwaukee in this game.
And despite being the worst seed.
The worst seed. So it's an odd dynamic there. He still likes the Flames -2. Your thoughts?
Yeah, no, Patrick Baldwin Jr. might actually be good for Milwaukee. Like they're not distracted trying to make sure he gets shots. His dad isn't trying to figure out the offensive game plan there. USC did just win by 13 in the season finale. I don't really trust Milwaukee, Matt. I think it's kind of a lame duck coach situation. They have beaten a lot of the top teams in the league. Like they've had some impressive get up efforts, but I don't know if this is the game. Like if they win this one, I would be inclined to back them as like a big dog in the next round, but basically a pick 'em game against a team that is on their way out of the conference. I don't know. It's tough.
I lean Panthers, and I'm not going to bet it because I'm just not in the business of betting teams I don't trust right now. But this is probably the time to bet the Panthers if you believe in a little bit of buy low, whatever. Kai Paris saying the mob best bet. I guess speaking on behalf of the entire mob, very boisterous take there. I'd love to see it. Stetson, Central Arkansas, obscure over. He likes 151.5. I will be honest, I thought it felt a little bit high, but Central Arkansas overs have been pretty strong, I believe. So a team that can score, gets up and down, and tends to shirk on the defensive side. Do you have any take here on the total or side, perhaps?
Gosh, I don't take on the total. Rob Perry's been out forever now, so he doesn't really factor in anymore. But both teams can score. Probably plays pretty high pace. Probably in the over. I kind of lean towards Stetson. Nothing strong. This game is at Central Arkansas. It's the way ASUN does it. So it is a home game for Central Arkansas. They did beat Stetson earlier this season as well. So just food for thought there.
Yeah, slightly to Central Arkansas. I don't know why I'm interjecting. Rapid fire, Jim. Shut up. Go ahead.
No, you're fine. You're fine. I mean, I guess it's a decent slate today. We probably should be more selective. Hey, another best bet here. We'll get to those questions. Pound it live. Looking at Ohio laying 8.5 on the road. Fade Bowling Green's a great decision. That's where I'm at. I don't really have anything else to add. Do you have any other angle that's relevant?
Bowling Green might be down 2 with 10 minutes left, or maybe even up to. They'll still lose by 15. That's what they do.
Yep.
It's a collapsing team.
Agree. And then a couple of folks, Scott Craig notably, and also Pounded asking about the over in this Kai. Toledo Buffalo. Toledo as a dog. I mean, certainly enticing, but Buffalo at home. This is kind of a tough one for me. I think I've been waiting to back Toledo all season. I've been on the other side of their bets, but this feels like a decent spot to back them. What are you looking at?
I kind of lean towards Toledo on the number, just because you can get Toledo as a dog. I think it's a pretty strong bet. I don't think it's going to be a blowout. You'll have a chance to win the game the entire way. So from a value perspective, I like the Rockets, Matt. I hope Buffalo wins. I kind of want to see them get back up there. They're my preseason pick to win the conference. So Lean towards Toledo.
That is sneakily for basically the regular season title. If Toledo wins it, all they have to do is beat Bowling Green at home and they win it outright. So really, really big one.
Which they will certainly do. Hey, our guy Tooch asking about Kennesaw State at home laying 4.5 to Eastern Kentucky, Jim. We talk about how talented this Kennesaw State team is. Eastern Kentucky, a team that had talent, but just was ravaged by injuries all season. Could maybe argue they're a, new lease on life, reset button, a good value team in a conference tournament setting. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think I would lean Kennesaw. I kind of got head faked by the box score that Braxton Beverly was back in, but I think he started senior night, played 2 seconds and got subbed out. I think he's still hurt.
Yeah.
Like a courtesy, put him out there.
And owed to him and get back.
If he was back and healthy, I would say Eastern Kentucky with that new lease on life. I would take them as the dog, but I think Kennesaw, despite coming off a kind of heartbreaking OT loss at Liberty, I think the Owls are just better at this point.
Kai, back to Maction for you. A couple of folks disagreeing on this game in the chat mob. Harry R had a 3 for, but I'm going to focus on the one that's not on the outline. He's looking at Kent State on the road, laying 8 to Northern Illinois. Team that's been fairly feisty recently, but man, Kent State's been nothing short of magnificent. They have some injury concerns as well, I believe. Please check me on that. I thought they had a guy get banged up last game. Was it Garcia or one of
Justin
their,
Hamilton?
Hamilton,
did not
thank you.
Play
Hamilton.
last game. Kent State's still in play for first in the conference. If they win out, they'll be 16-4 in the league. Something to play for there. They also lost to NIU at home earlier in the season. So this feels like a major revenge Kent State pounding.
Yep.
Yeah. I don't believe Santiago played in that one way back in the day, and they've won 10 in a row, covered a bunch of those games. Yeah.
All right. We're going out west here to the mountains, Jim. The Air Troops and San Jose State Air Troops are at home. Spreads -5, total is 128, but Tim K asking about the under. Any take here, Jim, on San Jose State Air Force under? I don't really have a strong feel on how these teams are trending from a pace or efficiency perspective.
I think I have a take. You should know I have a take.
Do you
pay attention to our internal chat?
Which I don't. I ignore you usually.
Air Force's under is my best bet, Matthew. One of my 2 best bets today. So clearly you weren't dialed in there. San Jose State has gotten Diallo back. I think that is
huge.
Added some interior defense, given them some incentive to slow down a bit. I think that makes them a little bit of an under team, and that's all Air Force is. Like half court, slow, inefficient, really offensively. So I kind of like the under, Matt. Would you say the number you're seeing 128?
128 and a half. It's up. I think 128 is all you need, Jim. You don't need it's all you need.
28 from our pals at BetRivers is plenty for me. That's it.
I'll add something to that. I think Air Force second part of the conference season, when teams have seen their offense once, have a better prep plan. It's akin to like St. Thomas, where you've seen it before. You're better in the second leg of it once you have the scouting report nailed down. Hey, our guy Ryan A asking about Ohio Bowling Green, talked about that, but also Hartford Albany. Kai, I know the America East has been a weird league for us this season. Albany has been a team that's frustrated you. Hartford, it's a team I like, but they are also dealing with some injury concerns. Albany laying 2 at home. Thoughts?
Probably in Albany, and solely because I trust them more than Hartford. That's the handicap. And sad I do, because Albany should not be trusted.
No, they should not be trusted. I agree with that. Jim, going to some Atlantic 10 action. The Itsy Bitsy Spiders are hosting Dayton. Big injury question mark here with Kamara up front for the Flyers. I've officially removed Richmond from my betting portfolio because I just can't trust that team. Wild in-game swings. Definitely a great live bet team for sure. Thoughts on this one?
Yeah, Kamara's status is huge. You can't really bet aside if you don't know. He was banged up this weekend. That was all they gave. They didn't give a specific injury, no timetable or anything. So probably not going to find out until closer to game time. My hunch is he plays, but I can't say for sure.
Let's get one more here, hit back to the outline. And of course, best for last, Kai, the Dominator, our boy, asking, is Kentucky laying 17 too much to the Landshark run reps? Does feel high. Kermit Davis as a large dog seems like he can throw some smoke and mirrors out there.
The market has been down on Ole Miss all season, significantly worse than I certainly have had in my power ratings and maybe even KenPom. So I think there's value on Ole Miss every game, but it hasn't been the case. So I'd probably stay away, Matt. I don't think I trust Ole Miss even at 17.
Hey, a few folks mentioning the senior night aspect for some of these handicaps. I don't know. Do we have any thoughts on that? I tend to actually think fading the teams on senior night's a good play. I have no intel on that. Just, I think, don't go with the obvious angle. I'd almost go against the grain there.
I think it's highly overrated. And anecdotally, I remember tons of teams losing outright on senior night.
Yeah, there might have been an angle in the past. If there was, I think books have mostly caught it, and lines might factor that in now.
Yeah, especially if they're going to play like a walk-on per possession or two. It's like you're getting 2 free possessions of a bad team. I don't know. Stretch, whatever. Back to the outline. Let's do it.
All righty, back to the outline we go. First up after our chat mob break is Kansas, headed to TCU. Kansas is off a loss, Kai. TCU's off their monster win over Texas Tech. This feels like a KU spot. Do you agree?
Mm-hmm. Well, it's weird because they play today and they play Thursday at Kansas. So, yeah, TCU probably feels comfortable in the dance now. That Texas Tech win. KU still playing for a 1 seed. I'm not sure how they can't be right now, Jim. They have 10 Q1 wins. Ridiculous. Top three in Q1 wins are Kansas, Iowa State, and Baylor. it's nuts. Big 12 rocks this year. TCU is one of those rare teams that can actually battle Kansas in the paint, specifically McCormick. Eddie Lampkin is bigger than McCormick. He's an inch taller and he has some pounds on him. It's crazy.
God, I love Lampkin.
I do too. Remy Martin, Matt, he's back for Kansas. He came off the bench last game. I think they're more talented than TCU, but it's not a catastrophic amount. I'm just curious what the mindset is here. So TCU knows the next game is at Fog. Do they give max effort here at their home floor? KU knows the next game is at Fog. Is it a less than max effort knowing they have another shot to just punk them at home? I'm not sure. I think there's still a lot to fight for both teams and tend to think both teams give forth that maximum effort. So it's probably leaning towards Kansas here.
Yeah, I lean Kansas. I think if you're going to go all in, it's the time to do it. It's at home, but you just got that awesome win against Texas Tech. And I think that makes the Horned Frogs feel a little bit comfortable. I don't want to go all the way and say fat and happy, but I would lean Kansas here on the road, especially with the Remy Martin factor. I think that's huge, man. It just basically gives them added dimension where he can be just a guy who can give you 7 points in a flurry, sort of be a plug to any scoring droughts, Jim. I do lean Kansas here. -6, the current price. I think that's a pretty good bet.
Yeah, McCormick's so up and down, and they rely so heavily on Agbaji to just be efficient possession after possession. Having Martin give them that extra juice, like you said, kind of like the drought buster, just having him around. Kansas is also covered 4 straight at TCU. They've been pretty good down in Fort Worth. I think I would be on the Jayhawks there, if anything. All right, let's go back to the A10, Matt. We just talked Dayton, Richmond. Let's talk St. Bonaventure, VCU. Your Bonnies heading on the road, been trying to get back in the NCAA tournament picture, but VCU is right there on the bubble as well. But Matt, your Bonnies have a huge injury question. Mr. Schoen with a bad-looking injury late in their last game. Apparently it was an ankle. I can't believe it wasn't a knee watching the replay. It was terrifying to see.
Gross.
Sounds like he might give it a go, but I can't imagine he's 100%. VCU best bet for me, Matt. Now I'm going to make you describe what your take is on this game.
Well, I think the take is Schoen. Even if he's in, he's not going to be 100% effective. That's a pretty fair assumption. And like my entire preview of St. Bonaventure last season, and I think which basically buoyed their amazing career year last year, is how important he is. Like defensively, completely changes the complexion of that team. So not only is he just an indispensable piece up front for any team, just with the type of player he is, Kai, but this team has no depth. And I think the replacement value there is like a twofold double whammy. Do I love laying points with VCU against a team that's surging, a veteran laden team, a coach I like, Mark Schmidt? No, I don't, but I think that's the right side. I think Jim's got the winner here. Up to 4.5 in most shops now, though.
Yep. -4.5. I'm laying it.
I want VC in the tournament. I know Jim does. I think Matt does. Both teams are really surging. Both teams 7 straight wins. VCU 4-3 against the spread. Bonnie 6-1 against the spread. They really have been playing towards that level that we hope they'd play all season. Schoen's obviously huge. Now, I don't think Coulibaly is a terrible replacement for him, but the problem is behind Coulibaly, he might even be a competent guy, but we don't know because Schmidt's never played him. And that's an issue. Even if he's competent, he has 0 experience on the floor this season. And that's huge in this game against a really good opponent in VCU. So his injury is enormous because the ripple effects are crazy for a team that plays essentially 6 guys all day. And we're worth reminding you guys, Bonnie's won by 20 at home in the first game here. 27-8, the free throw count. Maybe that evens up at VCU. Maybe there's a friendly whistle here. I think VCU returns the favor. I lean their way on the spread.
Yep, agreed, Kai. It was the final 21 minutes of that game, really. VCU played with them for 19, had a really nightmarish final minute to the half, and it just coasted into a Bonaventure smash in the second half. So I'm with you. I think VCU gets their revenge here. I'm curious if Coulibaly gets in foul trouble, if Mark Schmidt just like stubbornly is like, I'm playing 4. My guys are out there. I hate my bench. I refuse to go deeper.
I can see him. We're good out there with the guys we have.
That's what it feels like. I don't know why he despises those guys. If you're going to be Bonaventure's 8th man, go somewhere else, please. You could be Isaiah Brockington. He started his career at St. Bonaventure. Crazy.
Yep.
All right, let's keep moving. The SEC, Vanderbilt hosting Florida. Kai, I kind of wanted to back Vanderbilt. They've been good lately. 4-0-1 against the spread over their last 5. Been much better with their interior defense now that Liam Robbins is playing closer to a full minutes workload. Florida, I don't really trust right now. 3-6 against the spread on the road. What do you think? Are the Commodores the pick here or no?
Yeah, Florida's in major trouble. Squarely on the bubble. They need this win. Hey, it's also a Q1 win if they win. Vanderbilt's up to 74 in the net, so it's right there.
Well, they don't win by too many. Otherwise, they're going to fall out of the top 75.
Yeah, ironically, if they win, they might actually knock them out. Chapman probably still out. I think he's a game time. As Jermaine Mann is probably out too. That just hurts depth. Not as important. Game 1, Matt. Florida won by 19 without Castleton, but there's no Robbins either for Vanderbilt. 58 possessions. Vanderbilt scored 0.72 points per possession and was 4 for 23 from 3. You can't play any worse than that, pretty much. I think Robbins might be a solid match for Castleton. At least a guy that can slow him down a bit. And Anthony Derugi's a game time decision in this game as well. He missed last game for Florida. I think that's pretty big. So I think Vandy can hang. I've been underwhelmed by Florida all season. They have great athletes. They're physical, but they haven't executed. So I actually lean towards Vanderbilt here at pick. I think the line is right now.
Yeah, I think I do too. Even without, the Chapman out of the mix, I've been on record saying I don't really want to back the team until they have Chapman and Robbins in, but that really they haven't aligned their availability this season. Kai Derugi is a massive loss. I mean, he's been their most efficient offensive player all year, just a freak athlete. He adds a thump to that defensive fortress for sure. I think I lean the doors as well, man. I just feel like Mike White on the road in a big spot just screams like a letdown dud Florida game, doesn't it?
Yes. It does.
I'm with you. So certainly a Vandy lean for me as well, guys. All right, last one on the outline, the battle in the Big Sky, Southern Utah at Montana State. Matt, I've got a few numbers here, but I'm going to holster them. I'm going to see what your takes are before I lead you one way or the other. What do you got in this one?
Man, not a lot. I just can't believe how awesome Danny Sprinkle's been this year. He continues to elevate this program to unforeseen heights. They're coming off the big rivalry loss at Montana. Sets up a pretty good bounce back spot. Remember, this team just won at Southern Utah. What was it, last Saturday? So a little bit of a road flip-flop here in favor of Southern Utah, Kai. I think I'm leaning that way. It's been bet down a half point, I think to 3.5. You could catch 4. I think that's a decent wager, even though I know home court is to be respected, Big Sky.
Yeah, it's a big game for the title race in Big Sky. If Southern Utah wins, they'll move into a tie with 2 games left for both teams. You mentioned, Matt, Montana State did win that first game. Shooting is pretty similar. Montana State owned the glass, which I think they will again in this game. Southern Utah, though, forced 17 turnovers, gave up just 9 times. As much as my perception says the opposite, Southern Utah is actually a team that plays pretty disciplined. They don't foul. They take care of the ball. They don't make many mistakes. But I think Montana State might be just too good, too talented. Raekwon Battle, guys, Washington transfer. He's been coming off the bench and averaging like 15 points a game in the last 10 games or something. He's been fantastic for them. And Jim, I thought Montana State's home court was awesome, but the ATS splits surprised me. Montana State's 3-6 at home against the spread. Southern Utah's 3-8 on the road against the spread. So it's kind of a no-win situation for either team here. I do lean towards Southern Utah at the number here. I think this revenge angle is strong.
Yeah, just real quick, Jim. The current this year data in a nutshell, the home court actually has been not so great for the Big Sky. So generally, it is weird, right? It's like always been a strong home court conference. I don't want to react to like a home court has not played that well.
Yeah, this is basically a clincher for Montana State. Kai, you mentioned Southern Utah can tie it in the loss column, but if Montana State wins, they've got 2 soft home games or softish home games to end the year, and they'll be up 2 games. Southern Utah has never won in Bozeman. They're 0-8 all time. Wow. So that's something. And Danny Sprinkle is 4-0 against the spread against Todd Simon. I think there's a
big
not
coaching mismatch. I buy
monster
that.
coaching edge, but I think there is one for sure. I think Montana State has covered 7 of the last 8 against Southern Utah, but 4 of those were not under Danny Sprinkle, so you can probably throw them out. I still lean Montana State. It's tough to lay over a possession. I wish it was 3, but I just trust that team a little bit more. I like them off a loss, leaning towards the Bobcats at home. All right, let's go back to Chat Mob. Matthias, let's wrap it up that way. Make sure you hit the like button, folks. Let's rack those up. Hit triple digits today as we enter March. Start with a strong day on the like button. What do you got for us, Matthias?
We got to talk my Duke Blue Devils, Jim. A lot to play for today. Yeah, the old the elusive ACC title. And it's so funny. Headed to the Oakland Zoo to take on his former disciple, Jeff Capel. 14.5 on the road is a large spread in any conference game, no matter who's on the floor. But in this one team is categorically more talented, and any sort of coaching quibbles we've had with Coach K this season are largely negated by who is on the opposite sideline. I kind of lean Duke. I think they smash. Thoughts?
Me or Kai?
Oh, Jim, sorry. I'll give it to Jimmy.
Yeah, I think Duke smashes them too.
Yeah.
Jeff Capel, more like Jeff Incapable. How about that? Dunked on him. Boom, roasted. No, I think Duke's way better. I think maybe they're not, like, every once in a while we catch them in these unmotivated spots and they lay an egg, but I think they'll be relatively locked in today. Matt, sorry, I was distracted by the breaking news that Seattle has lifted the interim tag off of Craig Victor. So
nice,
well-deserved. They were terrific this season, despite having really no front court. So impressive. But yeah, Matt, I'm with you. I think your Blue Devils win big there.
Another big conference, power conference, big spread. Ohio State hosting the Huskers, minus 15 coming from Paris. He thinks an Ohio State bounce back plays well for the over, actually. So he's looking at a total here. It's 150. Obviously, Nebraska's defense is, optional to basically non-existent at times. Do the Buckeyes score at will, and do the Huskers get enough of their own on the other end to push this over the total?
I can see it being pretty high paced. I definitely see Ohio State naming their number in terms of how many points they score. Their efficiency is off the charts. Branham's emerged into a star. Liddell's obviously a star. I think the over is a good play here. 15 points. It's probably too much for me to lay comfortably. Yeah,
Nebraska shot the crap out of the ball last game. 13 of 20 from deep. I don't see that continuing.
Yep. Hey, Jim, let's talk about the Patriot League kicking off first round action today. We got a twofer from Noah Haynes, American Holy Cross and Bucknell Lafayette. Kai, you're getting one. Jim, you're getting the other. Kai, I'll go to you first. You pick your poison between these two. Holy Cross at home, laying 2 to American Lafayette.
Just hold on to that one.
Hold it. That's where we got a best bet, I think, coming out. Wink, wink. And then Lafayette laying 5 to Bucknell at home. I like the dog in that one. That's my only take between these two games today.
Yeah, numerically, I like the dog. Like Bucknell, they've been feisty sometimes as a dog, but I think Jordan Majeski has pointed out how poorly Bucknell has been defending Princeton-esque offenses this year, and Lafayette runs one of those. They could get dominated inside by Neil Quinn, and then shots open up on the perimeter. So I'm not actually betting that one. I bet Bucknell a lot this year, and I'm finally sitting one out.
A couple of power conference games here that seem to maybe have fallen beneath the cracks of national attention. Virginia Tech hosting Louisville, minus 10. Fairly low total. It does seem like a pretty big spread, but I mean, I don't know, at this point, Louisville seems like a lame duck team. Any thoughts on the value on either side?
I thought the number was insane. If you
I think
want
it's a
to
little high.
know my honest opinion, Matthew, I think 10.5 is crazy, but Louisville is probably broken. So I'm not really excited to back them either.
Yeah, they're a dead man walking for me.
Speaking of numbers that I kind of felt were pretty insane, Houston laying 15 to Cincinnati.
Pat says Malik Williams is out tonight. Well, there you go. So,
but his minutes have been fluctuating. Like, I don't think that shouldn't be a massive part of the handicap, should it? I mean, I know he's
he's their best player. Yeah.
I think he should
when
be.
He's out there, he's a cancer.
He hasn't tried what I've watched. Yeah, I don't think that should be a major problem. I'm sorry. I agree with you. He should be the best player. He has been at parts this season, but lately he seems checked out and very much at odds with
don't rush to the book to bet a team that's missing their best player, whether you think it's a good thing or bad thing.
Fair. But hey, players don't matter, right? Until they do. Sure. That's our stupid yogiism motto on this program. Jim, back to my initial take. I think Cincinnati catching 15 at Houston is way too many. What am I missing?
Yeah, I think Kelvin Sampson has owned Cincinnati, regardless of who is the coach, whether it was Cronin, whether it was Brandon, now Wes Miller. Houston kind of smashed him in the first game. That does feel awfully high to me, though. It just If it was like 10, yeah, sure, lay it with Houston, but 15's a lot.
All right, I'm trying to round up two more here from Ryan Abramowitz asking about North Florida Lipscomb and New Hampshire UMass Lowell. The North Florida Lipscomb one's interesting. I think this could be a shootout just because both offenses, I think, have clear edges to score against the other team. I know North Florida's got a little bit healthier recently, although they played pretty well without some key guys. Jim, any thoughts on that one? And Kyle, go to you for New Hampshire Lowell.
I like New Hampshire. I'm going to sneak that in there. But yeah,
Okay.
man, I sort of lean towards North Florida with Hendrickson back, and potentially maybe you get Placera for the postseason.
Yep.
Just the Ospreys, man, birds of Trey. It's a tricky no prep matchup. So if they win, I think there'll be someone to look for in the next round. But yeah, Lipscomb, I've just been pretty lukewarm on this year. The guard play and is weak.
Yeah, I agree with Kai. Any thoughts on New Hampshire Lowell? I agree with Jim. I think the number's a little bit high. I would have this closer to a pick. I know Lowell's been pretty feisty, and New Hampshire's been oddly disappointing at times, but I think they're a pretty good bet here at +4.
I do too. New Hampshire would be my lean. Mm-hmm.
Any
Matt,
final? Yeah, go ahead.
I've seen a question I want to ask you because I thought this number was like eye-poppingly high. Boise laying double digits to Nevada. Is that
Yeah.
a fair number to you?
Yeah, for a team that plays really low games, Kai's shaking his head. He's not buying it. No, I think it's too high too.
No, I take Nevada. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I would too. Again, they're healthier, not all the way healthy, but healthier. And I think getting Warren Washington is pretty effing massive. Like he's played 2 games now, had double or had 12 and 11, had 11 boards and 2 blocks in that game against UNLV. He's played very effective against really good front lines. And this is obviously a top tier class in that conference. Yeah, I think that's high. I'm with you guys. Not in any hurry to bet Nevada, but I think that's high.
They had Sherfield, Cambridge, and Washington last game. Like that's their 3 best players, all finally in the court. Didn't cover at Wyoming, but I think they cover here. I just think it's too high.
Hey, we got to talk Oakland IUPUI. Surprised more folks haven't asked about this. Just saw it come through the chat. The clear headline here is IUPUI Kai playing with a grand total of 5 players, unless Mr. Crenshaw is rope-a-doping us with the Lestrap injury news, but we believe he's out, and he said explicitly that they're using 5 guys. Hard to win with 5, Kai, but hey, that's the minimum. So can they gut out a courageous performance here and cover 23 at Oakland? No.
They might be able to. Yeah, that's a lot of points. I'm not sure Oakland's in a hurry to blow them out of the water.
Right.
I probably take it pretty easy. I know it's a tournament, but I think Campy's probably going to use it as an opportunity to get some guys rested, maybe try a few things. I think the under is a really good play.
Yeah, under is it's been bet down, but like there's a real chance that only 11 players play in this basketball game. 5 IUPUI, 6 Oakland.
Yes.
Like that it's going to be ridiculous. We could have a super slow game. IUPUI can't have foul trouble. They can't have fatigue. If somebody fouls out, they're playing with 4. So they are going to keep this possessions to a minimum, I think.
And I think if Oakland gets up big, you're not going to see a ton of Jalen Moore minutes second half too, which is obviously he's a tremendous over player with the way he pushes and obviously what he can do on
dealing
the
with the wrist injury.
The wrist injury still lingering. I agree with you guys. Last questions here at the buzzer. I'm scrolling through. I don't think I missed any. I'm sure I missed plenty actually.
The chat is saying I'm going to beer bong a beer on Selection Sunday if we get 100 likes. I would have to find a beer bong. Maybe I'll shotgun one or something.
Jim, well, you're going to beer bong one, I think, sooner because of the intel we're getting from the Field 68. Our guys, Jeff Goodman and Mr. Borzello, with some phenomenal intel. If you guys missed last night, go back and rewatch that, by the way.
Yeah,
if you're interested in hot seat,
coaching carousel
conversation.
If they get rid of Konzo and we still have a show, I will shotgun a beer on for sure.
Then you should turn the Mizzou flag like hot dog style.
I will be draped in the Mizzou flag while I do it. So that's
we have no coach. Let's go. All right, that's it, guys. If any last questions, we'll get to them maybe after best bets here. But let's round out our best bet selection. I have not even touched on my game yet. Who's up here in the outline? Who's going first?
I am. And I haven't touched on mine either, Matt. And let's talk. American +2 is my best bet. Not that confident, but it's a best bet nonetheless. They swept Holy Cross in their regular season. They severely underachieved all year long. So conference tournament is a nice opportunity for teams like that to get a reset, to kind of reset their season, to achieve a new goal. They're more talented. They're fully healthy. They've been playing a lot better as of late as well. So American +2, hard to beat a team 3 times? No, says I. Matthew.
Yep. That has been, that's a myth. So don't buy into that, folks. If you want to lean on narratives, that's not one. My best bet, I got one today. I'm going to Robert Morris, Bobby Moe, fading Youngstown. This line got bet up, opened at 6.5, got bet up to 8.5 at one point. Now it's back down to 8. I would take it at 7 or higher. Just in a nutshell, look about what you would have made these two teams beginning of the season. Now I know Robert Morris had a myriad of injuries and they had a bunch of personnel issues. And Youngstown State was a pretty massive overachiever. Still, I do not think Youngstown State should be favored by 8 over Bobby Moe. I just don't. I'm sorry. It's too high. I'm taking the Colonials. Andrew Toole in a conference tournament setting anecdotally gives me the warm and fuzzies. Again, though, I take first half because my second halves have been a complete and utter disaster this season. So maybe chop that best bet into two parts. You can
give your first half best bet.
No, because if I do that, though, then that'll lose. So I guess what I'm doing is officially making it a best bet play on record as a full game, but then like kind of wink, wink, telling the folks to take first half as a proper hedge to the inevitable second half collapse.
Got it. All right. Well, my best bets were VCU -4.5 and Air Force San Jose State under 128. Already broke those down, so I'm not going to belabor them. That's it. Matt, I think West Virginia, Oklahoma is the only thing we need to hit still. What do you got?
Not a ton. Oklahoma -5 feels a little bit high. I know West Virginia has been struggling, but I think I would lean the ears catching 5 on the road, which should be a pretty ugly game.
All right. That is it. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. Long today, but hey, it's the first show in March. Why not talk a little extra basketball? Got some conference tournaments tonight. We'll be back again tomorrow with even more conference tournaments to discuss. Enjoy the hoops. Hopefully we'll have an over 500 day on best bets. Who knows? We'll see. But thanks for tuning in. We'll see you again tomorrow at the same time.